or you're going to talk straight away?
I'll talk.
All right, admitting on. And I'll just bring the picture everywhere. Ah, graffiti it is.
Hi, everybody. We'll just wait 1 minute to get everybody on. Hi, Jan.
Hi, how you going?
Great, great. You're kidding me.
She asked him, can I hear that? Can I hear that?
Can you hear that?
Yep.
Oh, God.
Great. My husband just went, yep.
That's good timing.
Apologies. Someone's drilling next door. Okay, we've got a few people coming on. That's great. I'll wait 30 more seconds. So for those of you that don't know me, which is not many people, I'm Helen Alpha here at the Franchise Council of Australia, and welcome to our first Lunch and Learn. And I apologise if you can hear banging. Something's being done in our building. This is Series 1. Last year we had a great response and we were doing them monthly. This year we've had an overwhelming response and they're twice a month coming up. So get ready, give us 45 minutes of your time every few weeks and, lots and lots to learn. So without further ado, I'd like to talk about today's webinar. We have the Community First Responders Australia here today. They're our gold partners at the FCA for social responsibility. So Leon and Gwyn are the founders of the Community First Responders Australia. They started 2 years ago. And the purpose of CFRA is to empower community and lives through emergency response. So without further ado, let's hear from Leon.
Thank you. Hi, all.
You didn't say that.
So firstly, a huge thank you to Helen, Lisa, Baxter, everybody at the FCA for welcoming us as, I guess, part of the family and, hoping to make very real change in the community. Just hold on for a sec. There we go. Bring the next one. Yeah. Okay, so the vision of Community First Responders is to empower community and save lives through emergency response. On the foundation side, our focus really is on communities and individuals who have inherent barriers to emergency care. And it's worth making the point that inherently, a lot of people who do have barriers to emergency care are those who aren't often included in community. So a big focus is on diversity and championing inclusion. All right, so if you want to, we do quite a lot, which is I guess really good. So what we want to do is break it up into two sections. There's the commercial side, which supports and helps keep going the foundation, and then there's the foundation social responsibility side. So first with the commercial services, I guess starting at the vanilla straightforward services, there's accredited training. So if your organisations have OH&S or legislative requirements to have first aid training, whether it's CPR, first aid, advanced first aid, we've just added mental health first aid to our scope of practice, and that's both with respect to mental health first aid for first responders and mental health first aid for youth. So especially those of you who are involved in community type organisations, sporting clubs, scouting groups, schools, etc., that might be of interest to you. There's asthma, anaphylaxis, and then customised first aid courses. So for example, with one of the organisations that we work with who are digging one of the tunnels in Melbourne, we did vanilla first aid and then did more specific trauma type injury. So we can cater the training to your organisation's needs and requirements. So that's on the first aid training side. On the first aid equipment, so we have direct DAs and relationships with defibrillator manufacturers. In other words, there's no middle person and any exclusivity clauses have been taken out. So we're completely product agnostic. And the goal is to provide the right solution for your organization. I mean, I guess ultimately for the patient. And that may be a mix of different products from different vendors. So that's on when we're looking at defibrillators. Same thing goes for first aid kits. We have standard first aid kits. We can customize first aid kits. We can brand first aid kits for you, which becomes really cool with clients and stakeholders, etc. And then there's first aid response. So we provide first aid services at events, whether that's car shows or community football. We did Amy Park soccer. We're doing a 3-day family camping thing next month, which I don't really know what that's going to entail. But yeah, so first aid at events, it's all licensed, all insured, and we have amazing responders who range from disciplines from nursing to midwifery to we even have an engineer. Yeah, so an amazing team of first responders to attend your events. So that's on the commercial side. We'll say it at the end, we'll say it again now. We have very special pricing and packages for FCA members, of course. On the social responsibility side, oh, thank you. On the social responsibility side, I guess that's really where the heart is, and that's where we can make the most difference. So our backgrounds, Gwyn and my background, are in emergency response. I was operations manager for a ambulance emergency response team, and Gwyn was head of emergency dispatch. Our response times to emergencies were very quick. So we'd arrive at cardiac arrest somewhere between 3 to 4 minutes, and people were not surviving. And the reason they weren't surviving is because no one was doing anything at the time of our arrival. And I guess that opened up our vision for CFRA. So we left that organisation, started CFRA, and the goal was to provide a full life cycle solution for medical emergencies. And that means all the way from recognising an emergency, being able to access the right help at the right time, and then knowing what to do, and tying and integrating equipment and being alerted. We'll explain more in a second. Unfortunately, the area of first aid in general is very siloed. So you have training, which has no relationship to the products that are being used, and then people aren't being activated. So an example would be you get a driver's license for a car, and what you need to be driving is a semi-trailer truck. So you're faced with that piece of equipment, and you have no idea what to do with that equipment. So what we're trying to do is, or what we are doing, is fitting the right equipment to the right training and being able to make the best use of those trained personnel. So the foundation is, we're on the ACNC, we're DGR1, so donations are tax deductible. Again, the goal is to empower community and save lives through emergency response, and the focus is very much on communities and individuals who have barriers to emergency care. In the beginning, we weren't able to do this, but now we can. So we packaged our solutions into 4 general packages. So one is shock savers. So they are the people we train. They're trained, and then we have them activated through 000 Good Sam. The next one is shock stations, which are defibrillator stations strategically placed around the community, or all the communities, and training the surrounding residents and or business people. Shock Starters is our cadet program, where we start training kids from as young as 6. I think our youngest is now 6. We're not going to call them shock finishers, but the oldest that we've trained is 98. So yeah, we try to get everywhere in between the spectrum. And Shock Squad is our quite unique team of cardiac arrest survivors who are now cardiac arrest responders. So they're a very special team. We'll go into that in a little bit more detail now. So shock savers. We've trained around 6,500 people in the past couple of years, ranging in age, like I said, from 6 to 98. Always happy to beat a record. This century would be great. Out of those, 1,300 of them are now Good SAM responders. Good SAM is it's a international program whereby if we make it local, you call 000. If the dispatcher feels that it sounds like a cardiac arrest, they'll send ambulance, possibly fire brigade, and good SAM responders. So good SAM responders by definition are within 400 metres of a cardiac arrest, and they're the three closest ones are activated to respond. And all the people around this table are good SAM responders. To put the number 1,300 into context, we started from 0 2 years ago. We have an MOU, an agreement with Good SAM International and Ambulance Victoria, where we can form Good SAM response teams. So you could have a VIP home services Good SAM response team. You can have an FCA Good SAM response team. But the power of Good SAM is that no matter what team you're part of and no matter where you were trained in or signed on with Good SAM, anywhere around the world where Good SAM is used by emergency services, you can be called on. So if in the case of a cardiac arrest, there's 4 minutes to do something, you can literally help save a life anywhere where you are around the world. And our Good SAM team now represents approximately 10% of Ambulance Victoria's total Good SAM numbers. And Good SAM has now been launched in South Australia, Tassie, New South Wales. Queensland will hopefully come on soon, and WA has their own amazing app, which we can feed into as well.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I guess when it comes to training in general, the idea is to break through barriers, so not to give up. So, for example, we'll train a Mandarin-speaking community utilizing an interpreter. Because, for example, that group, they can't even call 000, let alone know what to do. So they can't even access help in the first place. We work with Indigenous communities, rural communities who have obviously distance from emergency care. So anyone who's got barriers to emergency care. Next one is shock stations. So shock stations are quite exciting. Good SAM responders are trained. They know how to do CPR and defibrillation. Ideally, it would be great if they could access a defibrillator. Now, there are tons of defibrillators around the community. Unfortunately, most of them are locked up. So if there's tons of cash around the community, but it's all in people's pockets or in locked up banks, you can't access their cash. Similarly, if a defibrillator is locked away in someone's office building, if someone's dying outside, you can't access that defibrillator. So shock stations are outside. They're in a cabinet. That one's on Gwyn's mother's house in Malvern. We've got so far 32 of them around. We want to have 532 by the end of the year. They're very public. They're registered with 000 and ambulance. In other words, when someone is activated by Good SAM, or if you call ambulance and say, hey, there's a defibrillator at this address, they will tell you how to get into and access that defibrillator. We then train the community around and sign on as many of those people as Good SAM responders. In other words, it is very simply creating cardiac arrest response teams around the community. And that can be the Islamic Council of Victoria, it can be a scout group, it can be outside Elwood Bathers on the beach, it can be outside the Mayor of Kingston, it can be outside someone's house on the top left, it can be down Gwyn's driveway, which is on the bottom right. So it really can be anywhere. The one on the top right there is a bee hotel, and we stuck a defib on the bee hotel. The bees haven't complained, and hopefully it will save a life. There we go. They're shock stations. Shock starters are, you need to be 18 to become a Good SAM responder, but kids are unbelievable. So we run first aid training sessions for kids. We do run pediatric first aid sessions for parents and grandparents on how to look after their kids, but then we actually train kids as well. And kids are incredible when it comes to resuscitating patients and treating patients. They're really level-headed. The star of the show down there is Stacey, who is sitting in this presentation, as you see at the moment. So Stacey's our female, one of our two female mannequins, and they've been in every one of those 6,500, they've trained every one of those 6,500 students over the past few years, because women have a 30% less chance of surviving cardiac arrest than males. And as you can see, it's all kids there who are resuscitating Stacey. That's our shock starter program for kids. On a light side, very positive side, our shock squad are made up of, now it's 13 cardiac arrest survivors. So they are all people who literally dropped, and every single one of them is only alive because someone standing next to them actually jumped on their chest. Not one of, as an ambulance siren goes off, not one of them is alive having waited for an ambulance. Now, that's not ambulance's fault. If you have 4 minutes to do something, it is not possible to get an ambulance in 4 minutes. You can't recognise an issue, make a phone call, have them drive really quickly to you, unpack and start working on you in 4 minutes. It's just not possible. In other words, the chance of survival is us. And if you just do CPR, on average, a cardiac arrest response patient will have a 60% chance of survival. You add in defibrillation, you're looking at 70, 80%. So simply doing your daily Zumba or push-up challenge on a patient in the first 3 to 4 minutes gives them a 60% chance of survival, which is just amazing. And all of the shock squad, every single one of them is now a Good SAM responder as well. So they're quite a very special group. Then we get to improving female cardiac arrest survival. And when we talk about barriers to emergency care, women face a huge barrier. So again, if we're talking about 3 or 4 minutes to do something, generally guys will be wearing a shirt or a t-shirt, rip it off, stick the pads on, and you're defibrillating. Females generally wear more. So if there's bras and necklaces and all that other stuff going on, that takes time to remove. That time and the panic involved in removing bras and necklaces and all of that, which causes a whole lot of panic and disorganization, that's costing lives. So if for a male it takes 30 seconds to a minute to clear a chest, and for a female it takes 3, 4, 5 minutes for a chest, to clear a chest, that means you're dealing with a 30% less chance of survival. So we have Brittany Stacey, and hopefully there'll be a few more being added to the team shortly, who are clothed and bra'd up for every course, and we train in how to clear that chest and start resuscitation as quickly as possible on a female. Very interesting that out of the 6,500 people we've trained, and it's been a cross-section of every part of the community, that amazing photo was taken at, can anyone guess it? Just curious.
Like,
Anyone can guess it.
it's like Portsea or something.
No, that's Kings Park in Perth.
Ah.
And we walked around, we were training on the day, a company over in Perth, and that was towards the end of the day. So we went around Perth carrying Stacey and asking people to resuscitate Stacey. Not that we looked crazy at all. We just said we were from Victoria and we were allowed to do anything. So it was great. And that lovely lady, we don't know who she is. We just said, do you want to have a go? And do you mind being in a photo? That's the lady on the left. Lady on the right is Gwyn. And I guess what we're trying to do is to mitigate this disadvantage that females have just by being female. When it comes to barriers, though, we've trained in churches and mosques and synagogues and golf clubs and schools and senior centres and Mandarin speakers and Italian speakers and absolutely everywhere. And it's really interesting where the barriers exist. So people might expect that more religious groups have greater barriers, for example. But it's interesting that probably one of the groups that have the biggest barriers is simply being Anglo male 60 and above. Am I going to get sued? So as simple as that. So whether a barrier has got to do with modesty and clothing, or a barrier has got to do with social norms or just shyness, or am I going to get in trouble for breaking a rib, they're all just barriers that cost lives. And the idea is to cut through those barriers and get on their chest as quick as possible. So we would love to do a first aid course for you in 15 minutes, but it's not quite possible. But we figured we'd give you a nice bit of information that you may find useful at some stage in your lives. So if you're, for example, walking around Kings Park and you're from Melbourne, or you're walking around Albert Park Lake, or you're walking along Bondi Beach, or what's that really nice beach in South Australia? Henley Beach.
Henley.
Right. See, I can't even pronounce what it is. And if someone has a
Abby.
hi, Abby, how are you? So, and someone has a collapse. How that's cute. How do you get help there? How do you call up 000 ambulance? The first question they ask is,
what address you need the ambulance?
and until you can give a location, they're not even going to ask you what's wrong. And on average, it's taking 000 3 minutes 20 seconds to work out that they're dealing with a cardiac arrest. So if there's 4 minutes to do something and you're spending 3 minutes 20 seconds having a math state, then it's not really conducive to saving a life. So if you're in any expanse of area or an unfamiliar area, there's a couple of apps that you can use. One is you can use Emergency Plus, or you can use the actual What 3 Words apps. What 3 Words app. So if you go onto your Google Play or App Store and search for What 3 Words and download that app will show you where you're standing 3 words. Now, what 3 Words did was they took the whole globe, they divided into 2 square meter squares, and every 2 square meters around the globe has been designated 3 fixed words. So if you call 000 and you say, I'm at Albert Park Lake or I'm at Henley Beach, and these are my What 3 Words, or I'm at some golf it's called club, and someone's had a cardiac arrest on the 17th hole, and the ambulance arrives at the front gate and goes, now we're in this 50 hectares is the bloody patient. If you say, I'm at Royal Melbourne Golf Club and these are my What 3 Words, they know exactly where you are. If you're a loser like me and keeps forgetting where you put your car when you go to the beach, you can tag your What 3 Words on your phone so you can navigate back to it. If you're at a party and you have your drink spiked and you're lying on the floor there unable to run away, you can share your What 3 Words with someone and they will know exactly where you are. If you're walking down the street and you're being followed and you can't, share your What 3 Words with someone and they will know exactly where you are. If you're in the middle of Port Phillip Bay on a boat, and as long as you got phone reception, you text your What 3 Words, they can find exactly where you are instead of saying, I'm near the cute little dolphin. So What 3 Words is very, very powerful when it comes to giving your location in an expanse of space.
Download that, people.
Yes.
Who's from South Australia, Abby?
I think Rose is on
Rose
too.
is on there.
Hi, Rose.
Rose is on there.
So South Australia they're the thought leaders and hello, Rose. And they're the thought leaders and practical leaders of the country by mandating defibrillators, which is absolutely awesome. So if you have Zol put together a nice fact sheet there, which we're happy to send to all of you. But if you fall into certain criteria, you need to have a serviced, operational, accessible defibrillator. That is awesome. Doesn't necessarily overcome the issues of, so training is one, and the other one is actual accessibility. So again, if the defib is locked away in a building and someone outside can't access it, it's not really being used to its potential. Great example Gwyn gave to a block of flats which were interested in a defibrillator, and they wanted it inside because we've got to protect our defibrillator. So they wanted it inside the property, and Gwyn was trying to get them to put it on the outside, and this is the logic that she used.
So most of the residents were 70 plus, and so I was saying that it's more likely going to be someone from your street who's going to come and save you, and that it'll be easier for them to get the defib on the way in than running around inside the building trying to find it, which seems to work for them. Yeah. Yeah.
So we'd love to work with, given that this amazing initiative is happening in South Australia, we'd be really keen to chat to anyone who's in South Australia at the moment to maximise what they're really going to have to be doing under legislation. Just some quick thoughts or ideas. So where does this fit into franchises? You're in an incredible position. So often your franchise might be a real community centre for the people around you, depending on what your business is. So just imagine you have a franchise with a shock station outside and then train the community around. It's great for well, not only community service, but it's also great for brand recognition and making your location central to the community. For those who are mobile, oh my gosh. So let's use the ultimate example. Zoll, so the green machines that you see on there, so they're one of the leading deep food manufacturers in the world. They have a team of 50 in Australia who are driving around everywhere, from cities to mines, all around Australia with defibrillators in their cars, selling and servicing them. Fantastic. The problem is, if they're at a red light and someone has a cardiac arrest 1 block down, they've got a life-saving machine and they're not going to be activated. So we went up there on one of their learning and development days to Sydney, trained their team, registered them onto Good Sam, and now Zoll don't only have defibrillators in their cars, they're actually mobile cardiac arrest response teams if something happens, so they can actually save the lives that they're in the business of saving. So mobile groups and mobile teams, it's an incredible added service. So in a nutshell, so there's accredited first aid training, which we'd love to do. We know some really good trainers. I think we're okay. Yeah, we're pretty good. So you can do it online, face-to-face. We'll work with you on how it gets done. Your premises, our premises, on the beach. We've done on the beach. Yep, training on the beach, wherever you like. So at a location of your choice. And of course, there's going to be very special pricing for FCA members. I don't know if we suck at what we do, but basically we don't want price to get in the way. The idea is saving lives, and we'll work with you to make sure that happens. Defibrillators, first aid kits. So again, there's direct agreements with the manufacturers. We're product agnostic, so we're not going to shove one product down your throats. The idea is going to be to give you the right solution to ultimately save your patients. We can look at custom branding of defibs of first aid kits, which you see one really pretty one on the right that's got our branding on it. And yeah, we can look at volume discounts and all of that stuff. And on the social responsibility side, whether you'd be interested in hosting a shock station or sponsoring one or hosting training courses for your community or your staff, employee giving, so all donations are tax deductible, and tax deductible donations, we would love to chat with you.
Excellent. So what questions do we have? Very, very interesting. I'm sure we've got questions. Oh, we've got some.
Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. If you don't want to speak up, you can just type your question. Otherwise, please speak up.
Jan's got a question.
Oh, Jan, yep.
I've always got a question. But no, I mean, I always keep my first aid and CPR up to date. So that's fine. Is this different, or is it going sort of a step further than just that basic?
So a standard CPR or first aid course is going to be exactly the same content as you get from anywhere else. The way we train you will be totally different. So we train in line with ambulance process, so high performance CPR. We use replicas of actual defibs in our training, so we don't use generic defibs. Now we cover other stuff. So for example, do I have 2 minutes? Yeah, I got a few minutes.
Yeah.
So for example, I never have extra time. I'm so excited. So I got Helen and Gwyn both kicking me at the same time. It's like CPR. So what happens is that, yeah, you've got your doctor's ABCD once an emergency occurs. What's a huge problem in the community goes right back to the big beginning of an emergency. So, for example, we've all heard stories of someone having a stroke, having a heart attack with some kind of serious issue going on, and they've left accessing help hours or even days. So in cardiac arrest, we talk 4 minutes. In heart attacks, we talk an hour. Strokes, we talk an hour. And the reason is that people don't know who to call when. They don't know how to triage their own call. They don't know how to triage their own emergency. So they start floundering and they start calling nurse on call or the professor that their grandmother dated as a kid, or you try to get hold of GP, but I can't get an appointment with my GP. So people are sometimes calling ambulances when they don't need ambulances. Sometimes they're not calling ambulances when they do need an ambulance. They're going, oh, someone else looks unwell, but what if they don't have ambulance cover? It's going to cost them $4,000, and now am I going to have to pay the $4,000? And do I need consent? And can I or can't I? All of that stuff is costing lives. So all the way from recognition to then accessing help, 2 parts of the chain of survival which completely lie in our hands, we're failing at. So one of the first things we go through is, how do you triage your own call? How do you know who to call when? So you're actually giving the patient in front of you, who's often someone who you love and is very dear to you, how do you give them the best care so they can get the best outcome? So the courses that we run, even if it's a stock standard CPR first aid course, is going to be very different and hopefully more useful. So the goal is, when you do a course with us, that by the end of it, you're on a chest in 15 seconds. That's the goal.
Uh-huh. That's great. So where do we, supposing I want to renew my my first aid and CPR, how do we find you? Where where do we find the closest course?
Maybe you go.
Call 000.
No.
When I send the recording of this, I will send all of Leon and Gwyn's details. Thanks,
So
Jan.
do you run training all around the country?
Yeah.
Yes, they
Yeah.
do.
Can I say something? They also come to our events. So they actually came to SA. They've been to Victoria. They've been to a few of our states
In
and
Queensland.
Queensland, met a few of the teams, and you'll be seeing them pop up a lot more to state, national, NFC, things like that. We're going to have them at those sort of events as well. So you can do lots of meets and greets, check out their product, talk to them in person. So they're a part of the partnership team now. So
Yeah. And Lisa, what do you have outside your house?
I have a shock station in my front yard. Very proud to say that. And we all did a little bit of a training session out the front, but we've also done a training here. And a lot of our neighbours have already noticed we're going to be training all of our street. And it's very exciting to know that, already our son, I was just saying before this call, has had 3 good SAM calls, where he had 2 of them were cancelled, where someone else had got there first. But I just find that to be very rewarding, that I could be a part of the solution. At any time could help save a life. And I found the training amazing. It was so much fun. It's not like any first aid I've done before. And we as a team did it, and it was team building. It was amazing. Good fun.
So just for context, we're from Victoria and we were in lockdown. So we'll do anything to get out of Victoria. So wherever you are, we will see you.
That's great. Someone's texted me a question regarding getting sued. Can you get sued if you perform CPR?
Oh, it's CPR, so in general.
You can get sued.
You can get sued in general. So generally there's, Australian Resuscitation Council very clearly says that any CPR is better than no CPR. There's Good Samaritan laws, there's common law, and no one has been sued for doing CPR. I guess be realistic. Like, if you're going to, don't do a MacGyver and, take a pen and stick it in a person's throat. But other than that, the answer is no. If you're doing CPR, if someone's non-responsive, not breathing, jump on a chest, so no.
Good.
Excellent. Any other questions?
George's got a good question.
Oh yeah, what happens if you're do you have to do mouth to mouth still? Like, is that still needed?
So the answer with mouth to mouth is this. If you go to a resuscitation conference, you'll have one speaker say compression only CPR, and the next one will go compressions with breaths. The reality is breaths are hard. So breaths are often off-putting. So whether a person's got, you might start off compressions with breaths, and then after a couple of minutes, there's a bit of blood and gunk coming up in the mouth, and you're going, hey, I didn't sign up for this. Or you might be sitting there thinking, hey, I might catch whatever they got, whether it's realistic or not, or whatever it is. Breaths often are an impediment, and that means that you're going to be putting less focus on your compressions, and ultimately it's your compressions that's going to buy them time and save lives. So the answer would be, if you feel really confident and competent doing breaths, you can do them. Personally, ambulance guidelines are the first 8 minutes, 8 to 10 minutes, the focus is on compression and defibrillation. That's it. So I would be doing compression only CPR and defibrillating as soon as I can.
Good question.
Any others? Anyone else want to ask anything? Feel free to take yourself off mute.
Hope they haven't all collapsed.
Does anyone need CPR?
No, that
Oh,
was
yeah,
that was
I'll give you one. Let's
absolutely
give you something.
fantastic. Really good and really informative. So yeah, just like to
Thanks,
say
Gwyn.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jan.
Oh,
Yeah.
And
excellent.
come
Thanks,
to the Queensland breakfast. That's what I was going to say as well.
Oh, yeah.
Tomorrow?
It's in
Tomorrow.
No, it's in March. I think about the 26th or something. Yeah, in Brisbane.
Thank you.
We'll talk about that, Jan. No worries.
Just a quick one. So I got a question for you. You're in your house, you're alone. You feel really sick, right? You feel like you're going to collapse. Something is really wrong. You're alone in your house. What do you do?
000.
Okay. And you feel like you're going to collapse.
Sit down.
You're choking. What do you do?
Don't know. Lie down.
Lie down in your house?
Oh, someone's up with it. Yeah.
Run outside.
Run
Oh.
outside. Oh.
Run outside. You collapsing at home means you're going to collapse at home and you're going to be on your own. Run outside, whereas many people who can see you are going to see you, and you actually have a chance of getting the help you need. The sicker you feel, and this is where, again, I'm not allowed to generalize whatever. I'm going to generalize. This is where guys suck. They feel really sick, and they run to the bathroom and they lock the door. So they collapse in the bathroom. You then can't get in because they've fallen across the door and they're totally alone inside. You feel really sick, run outside.
Good point. Good. Do the training and then you'll learn all the tips and tricks.
Yep. So what have we got here? Glenn. Oh, Glenn's just downloaded the apps.
The three apps.
What through it? Yeah, it's great.
Through Word app,
Especially when you
yep.
can't remember where you park your car. Oh, you know where
Thank
else?
you, Glenn.
For people who are always in nice weather, like Queensland and stuff. So if you want to meet someone on the beach, you can either say I'm 200 meters from the lifeguard tower, or you can say I'm at the beach, whatever beach it is, and give you a what 3 words. They'll know exactly where you are on the sand.
Incredible.
Amazing.
It's really cool.
And Rose, did you have a meeting this morning with Pam?
Yeah, we did.
Yes.
Rose is looking forward to hearing about.
Oh, wow, they're team meeting. Okay, cool. Can we do that now?
Everyone's an ears shopping, but that's okay.
Yeah, VIP. Excellent.
Good
All
work.
right. So thank you very much. I'm sure it was as informative and interesting as I've faund it. And I think I've heard it quite a few times now.
I'm so sorry.
No. But I keep learning. Every time I hear something, I keep learning. And, you know, I've got 35 years in the fitness industry and always been first aid trained. But what I have learnt from Leon and Gwyn has been life-changing. Life-changing. So thank you very much. So on to next week. Next fortnight. On to next fortnight. On Tuesday, 25th of February, we have our number 2 webinar, Lunch and Learn. It is hosted by, oh, sorry, that's terrible what I just said. Anyways, it is hosted by Brownie. And the topic is sustainability action to meet ESG requirements in tenders. So just as important as this was today. So I look forward to seeing you all online. Thank you so much. And you'll all get the recording. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Fantastic.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, guys.